My sister-in-law disconnected my 8-year-old son's hospital alarm. Nurses found him flatlined. 20 minutes later, I made sure she paid for it. Hi, I'm Elena. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. I need to start by telling you about my son Ethan. He's 8 years old now, but when he was 6, he was diagnosed with a severe congenital heart defect that required multiple surgeries. The condition is called tetralogy of Fallot, which means his heart didn't form properly. Without surgery, he wouldn't survive past childhood. My husband Marcus and I were devastated when we got the diagnosis, but we were also grateful it was caught in time. Ethan had his first open heart surgery when he was 6, and he was incredibly brave through the whole thing. The surgery was successful, but his cardiologist, Dr. Mitchell, warned us that Ethan would need careful monitoring for the rest of his life and possibly more surgeries as he grew. His heart is fragile. Dr. Mitchell explained, any cardiac event could be life-threatening. If he ever shows symptoms, chest pain, difficulty breathing, irregular heartbeat, you need to get him to the hospital immediately. We were vigilant. I learned everything I could about Ethan's condition, kept all his medications organized, and made sure his teachers and school nurse knew exactly what to watch for. Marcus and I became experts on our son's heart condition out of necessity. Life returned to something close to normal for about a year and a half. Ethan was active, happy, doing well in school. Then 2 months ago, he started having chest pain and irregular heartbeats. We rushed him to Oakwood Medical Center, and Dr. Mitchell admitted him immediately for monitoring and tests. His heart rhythm is unstable, she told us. We need to keep him here for at least a week, maybe longer, to figure out what's causing this and adjust his medications. He'll be on continuous cardiac monitoring. That meant Ethan was hooked up to machines that tracked his heart rate, rhythm, and oxygen levels 24 hours a day. If anything went wrong, alarms would sound at the nurse's station and someone would respond immediately. This is where my sister-in-law Brooke enters the story. Brooke is Marcus's younger sister, and we've never gotten along. From the moment Marcus and I started dating 7 years ago, she made it clear she didn't think I was good enough for her brother. I'm a high school art teacher, and Brooke always acted like that was beneath her. She works in pharmaceutical sales and never misses an opportunity to mention how much money she makes. When Marcus and I got married, Brooke wore white to the wedding. When I got pregnant with Ethan, she told everyone I'd trapped Marcus with a baby. When Ethan was diagnosed with his heart condition, she actually said, well, genetic defects usually come from the mother's side. Marcus would defend me, but he also had this blind spot when it came to his sister. She doesn't mean it the way it sounds, he'd say. She's just awkward with emotions. My best friend since college, Nadia, couldn't stand Brooke. That woman is toxic, she told me after meeting her at Ethan's first birthday party. She's jealous of you and takes it out on you every chance she gets. I know, but she's Marcus's sister. I have to deal with her. You don't have to deal with anything. Set boundaries. I tried, but Marcus's parents, Donna and Timothy, always pressured us to include Brooke in family events. She's family. Donna would say, you need to make an effort. When Ethan was hospitalized this time, Brooke immediately inserted herself into the situation. She showed up at the hospital the day after he was admitted, acting like she was the concerned aunt of the year. Poor Ethan, she cooed, bringing him a stuffed animal. Aunt Brooke is here to take care of you. I appreciated the gesture at first, but then she started undermining me in front of the medical staff. When I explained Ethan's medication schedule to a new nurse, Brooke interrupted. Actually, Elena tends to be a bit overprotective and paranoid. You should probably verify everything she says with the doctor. Excuse me, I said. I'm just looking out for Ethan. You get so anxious about his condition that sometimes you're not thinking clearly. Marcus was in the cafeteria getting coffee and missed this exchange. When I told him about it later, he said Brooke was probably just trying to help in her own way. But my sister Avery, who visited that afternoon, saw it differently. She's trying to make you look incompetent in front of the medical staff. Avery said, "That's deliberate." Over the next few days, Brooke kept showing up during visiting hours. She'd bring Ethan toys and snacks, including sugary treats that Dr. Mitchell had specifically said Ethan shouldn't have because they could affect his heart rate. "Brooke, he can't have that candy," I told her. "His doctor said no sugar while we're trying to stabilize his heart rhythm." "Oh, please, a little candy won't hurt him." "You're being ridiculous. I'm following doctor's orders. You're being a controlling mother." "No wonder Ethan gets anxious. You hover over him constantly." I took the candy away from Ethan, and Brooke complained to Marcus that I was being unreasonable. Marcus, exhausted from sleeping in a hospital chair for days, told me to just let Brooke visit without starting drama. I'm not starting drama. She's undermining medical advice. She cares about Ethan. That's all that matters. But it wasn't all that mattered because Brooke's behavior got worse. She started questioning the nurses about Ethan's care in this aggressive way. "Are you sure you're giving him the right dosage? How often are you actually checking on him? My brother and sister-in-law are very emotional right now, so I need to make sure someone rational is overseeing things." One of the nurses, a kind woman named Sarah, who'd been taking care of Ethan since he was admitted, pulled me aside. "Mrs. Foster, I need to mention something. Your sister-in-law has been asking very specific questions about Ethan's monitors and alarms. What they track, how they work, what happens if they're turned off." It seemed odd. Why would she ask about that? I don't know, but it made me uncomfortable. "I wanted you to be aware." I told Marcus, but he brushed it off. "She probably just wants to understand his care. She's curious. She works in medical sales, remember?" Sarah thought it was weird. "Sarah doesn't know Brooke like we do." I wish I'd pushed harder. I wish I'd trusted my instincts and banned Brooke from the hospital room, but I didn't. And that decision almost cost me my son's life. It happened on a Tuesday evening. Marcus had gone home to shower and get a change of clothes. I had been at the hospital for 6 days straight and was exhausted. My mom, Laura, came to sit with Ethan so I could go to the cafeteria and eat something other than vending machine food. "Go," she insisted. "I'll be right here with him. Take your time." Ethan was stable that evening, watching cartoons, his heart monitor beeping steadily. I kissed his forehead and went downstairs, grateful for the break. I'd been gone maybe 20 minutes when Brooke showed up. My mom told me later that Brooke seemed surprised to see her there. "Oh, Laura, I didn't realize you'd be here," Brooke said. "Elena needed a break. She's been here non-stop." "Well, since you're here, would you mind grabbing me a coffee from the machine down the hall? I'd get it myself, but my knee has been killing me today." Brooke made this big show of rubbing her knee. My mom, always trying to be helpful, agreed. "I'll be right back, Ethan. Aunt Brooke will stay with you." That's when Brooke was alone with my son. According to the hospital's investigation later, Brooke was alone in the room for approximately 18 minutes. At some point during those 18 minutes, she reached behind Ethan's bed and disconnected his cardiac monitor alarm. Not the monitor itself that kept displaying Ethan's vitals on the screen in the room, but the alarm that connected to the nurse's station. The one that would alert medical staff if something went wrong was silenced. My mom came back with the coffee, and Brooke left shortly after, claiming she had dinner plans. My mom sat with Ethan, not realizing anything was wrong. Why would she? The monitor in the room still showed Ethan's heart rhythm. Everything looked normal. I came back from the cafeteria about 10 minutes later, and my mom headed home. I settled into the chair beside Ethan's bed with a book, watching him drift off to sleep. That's when I noticed Ethan's breathing seemed off, shallow and rapid. "Ethan, baby, are you okay?" He didn't respond. His eyes were closed, but his breathing was definitely wrong. I checked the monitor screen. His heart rate was dropping fast, from 70 beats per minute to 60, then 50. "Ethan." I shook him gently. No response. 40 beats per minute. I ran to the door and screamed for help. "Nurse, I need help. Something's wrong with my son." Sarah came running, took one look at the monitor, and her face went white. She immediately called a code blue. The room flooded with medical staff within seconds. Dr. Mitchell appeared from somewhere already in her scrubs. 30 beats per minute. They pushed me out of the way, working on Ethan frantically. I heard someone say his blood pressure was dropping. Someone else was setting up a defibrillator. 20 beats per minute. Why didn't the alarm go off? Dr. Mitchell demanded. Why weren't we notified? A nurse checked the connection. The alarm's been disconnected. It's not sending to the nurse's station. 10 beats per minute. Then the line went flat. That horrible continuous beep. My son was flatlining. That's when the scene from the beginning happened, though. I barely remember it. I was screaming, crying, being held back by a nurse as they worked on Ethan. Where were you? The alarm was disconnected. Why wasn't anyone monitoring him? Mrs. Foster, we're so sorry. The alarm was functioning when we checked 30 minutes ago. My son flatlined. He could have died. Someone disconnected that alarm. We're investigating what happened. Please let us focus on stabilizing him right now. They worked on Ethan for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. They got his heart beating again, stabilized him, and moved him to the cardiac ICU, where he could be monitored even more closely. Marcus arrived right as they were moving Ethan, having gotten my frantic call. We held each other in the hallway, both of us shaking. Dr. Mitchell came out to talk to us once Ethan was settled. He's stable now, but that was extremely close. Another few minutes and we would have lost him. The fact that the alarm was disconnected meant we had no warning. If you hadn't noticed his breathing and called for help when you did, Elena, he wouldn't have made it. How did the alarm get disconnected? Marcus asked. We don't know yet. The hospital is reviewing security footage and interviewing everyone who was in the room today. Nadia arrived at the hospital within the hour, having dropped everything when I called her. She sat with me while Marcus stayed in the ICU with Ethan. Who was in the room today? She asked. Just me, Marcus. My mom and I stopped. Oh my God, Brooke. What? Brooke was alone with Ethan for about 20 minutes while my mom got her coffee. Nadia's expression hardened. You need to tell the hospital right now. The security footage confirmed it. Brooke entered Ethan's room at 6:15 p.m. My mom left to get coffee at 6:18. At 6:22, the footage showed Brooke standing up, moving behind Ethan's bed and reaching toward the equipment. She was positioned so her body blocked the view of what exactly she was doing. But the hospital's technical team confirmed that the alarm was disconnected at 6:23 p.m. Brooke left the room at 6:36. My mom returned at 6:37. The alarm remained disconnected until the code blew at 7:05. The hospital called the police. Detectives came to interview everyone. When they brought in Brooke for questioning, she initially denied everything. I didn't touch anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But the security footage was damning. They showed her the video of her reaching behind the bed right when the alarm was disconnected. I was just adjusting his pillow. The wires were tangled. The alarm disconnect is on the opposite side from his pillow. Miss Foster, her story kept changing. Finally, after hours of questioning, she admitted she disconnected the alarm, but claimed it was an accident. I bumped it with my elbow. I didn't even realize I disconnected it. The disconnect requires pressing a specific button and holding it for 3 seconds. That's not something you do accidentally. Avery, who has a law degree, even though she practices corporate law, got involved. This wasn't an accident, she told the detectives. She's been undermining my sister for days, questioning the medical staff, asking specific questions about the alarm system. This was deliberate. The police dug deeper. They pulled Brooke's phone records and found disturbing Google searches from the days before the incident. How do cardiac monitors work? Can you disable hospital alarms? What happens when heart monitor alarm is off? And most chilling, how long can a child survive cardiac event without treatment? They also found text messages between Brooke and a friend where she complained about me. Elena acts like she's the only one who cares about Ethan. She treats everyone like they're incompetent. Someone needs to show her what happens when she's not in control. When confronted with this evidence, Brooke finally admitted the truth to her lawyer, who then tried to negotiate a plea deal. She disconnected the alarm on purpose. She wanted to teach me a lesson about being overprotective. Her plan, according to her statement, was that Ethan would have some minor medical event. The nurses wouldn't be immediately alerted, and by the time anyone noticed, it would prove that I was right to be concerned, but also that my constant hovering wasn't the only thing keeping Ethan safe. I thought the nurses would check on him anyway, she told her lawyer. I didn't think anything serious would actually happen. I just wanted Elena to see that her anxiety was causing problems. The delusion was staggering. She deliberately endangered a child's life to prove a point about my parenting. What she hadn't counted on was how serious Ethan's heart condition actually was. When his heart started failing and no alarm sounded, those minutes were the difference between life and death. Marcus was destroyed when he learned the truth. His sister had nearly killed our son. There was no defending that, no excusing it. I knew she didn't like Elena, but this. He couldn't even finish the sentence. Donna and Timothy were in denial at first. Brooke made a mistake, Donna said. She didn't mean for Ethan to get hurt. She disabled a life-saving medical device on purpose. I said, my voice cold. Your grandson nearly died because your daughter wanted to teach me a lesson. Eventually, even Donna and Timothy couldn't deny what Brooke had done. The evidence was too clear. Brooke was arrested and charged with reckless endangerment of a child, interference with medical equipment, and attempted manslaughter. Because it happened in a hospital and involved deliberately tampering with medical equipment, the charges were severe. Her lawyer tried to argue that she hadn't intended to cause serious harm, that she'd simply made a bad decision without understanding the consequence. But the prosecutor brought in Dr. Mitchell and other cardiac experts who testified about how critical continuous monitoring is for children with Ethan's condition. Every second counts with cardiac events in children with tetralogy of Fallot. Dr. Mitchell testified, the alarm system exists because immediate intervention can mean the difference between full recovery and death or permanent brain damage. By disconnecting that alarm, Ms. Foster eliminated the safety net that was keeping Ethan alive. The prosecutor also presented Brooke's search history and text messages. This wasn't ignorance, she argued. The defendant researched how these systems work. She knew what she was doing. She was willing to risk a child's life because she was jealous of his mother. My victim impact statement at the trial was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I stood in that courtroom and described watching my son's heart stop being pushed aside while they worked to save him. The absolute terror of thinking I was going to lose my child. Brooke Foster didn't just endanger my son's physical health. I said she destroyed my sense of safety. I can't sleep. I have panic attacks every time Ethan has a doctor's appointment. I'm terrified to let him out of my sight. She took away my ability to trust people around my child. Marcus testified too, talking about the betrayal of his own sister nearly killing his son. I have to live with the knowledge that my sister was willing to hurt Ethan to hurt my wife. That's something I'll never get over. The jury deliberated for 2 days, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge was harsh. You used your knowledge of medical equipment to deliberately endanger a vulnerable child. You researched how to do this. You planned it. Then you lied about it repeatedly until the evidence became overwhelming. This wasn't a mistake or an accident. This was calculated. Brooke was sentenced to 8 years in prison. She'll serve at least 6 before being eligible for parole. She was also ordered to pay all of Ethan's medical expenses related to the incident and ongoing therapy costs for both Ethan and me. The consequences didn't stop there. Brooke's pharmaceutical company fired her immediately when the charges became public. Her professional reputation was destroyed. No company will hire someone who endangered a child's life in a hospital setting. Her medical sales license was permanently revoked. Donna and Timothy struggled with the reality of what their daughter had done. Timothy eventually admitted that they'd enabled Brooke's jealousy and cruelty toward me for years. "We should have set boundaries," he said quietly during one difficult family meeting. "We should have protected you and Ethan from her behavior." "I'm sorry, Elena." Marcus cut off all contact with Brooke. He wrote her one letter after the sentencing, and I read it before he sent it. "You almost killed my son because you were jealous of my wife. There's no coming back from that. Don't contact me. Don't contact Elena. And when you get out of prison, stay away from my family. You're my sister by blood, but you're dead to me." Ethan recovered physically, but the trauma affected him. He developed anxiety about hospitals and medical procedures. We got him into therapy with a child psychologist who specializes in medical trauma. He's making progress, slowly learning that he's safe, that what happened wasn't his fault. I'm in therapy too, working through my own trauma and trust issues. It's hard to let anyone watch Ethan now, even people I've known for years. Nadia has been incredibly patient, understanding when I cancel plans because I can't leave Ethan's side. The therapist tells me it will get easier with time. Some days I believe her. Other days I still wake up in a panic, remembering that flat line, that horrible beep, thinking I was watching my son die. A year has passed since that terrible night. Ethan is 9 now, and his heart has remained stable. Dr. Mitchell says he's doing remarkably well, all things considered. He still needs monitoring, still needs to be careful, but he's living a relatively normal life. He plays soccer in a modified league for kids with health conditions. He's back in school, making friends, laughing again. Some nights when I watch him sleep, I still can't believe we didn't lose him. Marcus and I are closer now, forged stronger by the trauma we survived together. He's done a lot of work in therapy dealing with the betrayal and guilt he feels about his sister. He apologized to me countless times for not believing me about Brooke's behavior, for making excuses for her, for not protecting Ethan from her. "I saw what I wanted to see," he told me during one late-night conversation. "I wanted to believe my sister was just awkward, just struggling with jealousy in harmless ways. I ignored all the signs because acknowledging them would have meant accepting that someone I loved was capable of real cruelty. I'm so sorry, Elena. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. I'm sorry I didn't protect our son from her. We've rebuilt our family around the people who truly matter. Nadia and Avery are constants in our lives, the aunts Ethan deserves. My mom visits every week, still carrying guilt about leaving Ethan alone with Brooke that night, though we've told her 1,000 times it wasn't her fault. Donna and Timothy see Ethan supervised, and only when we're comfortable with it. They're trying to make amends, to be better grandparents, to acknowledge the ways they enabled Brooke's behavior. It's a slow process, but we are working on it for Ethan's sake. The hospital implemented new security protocols after what happened. Now, every alarm disconnection is logged automatically and triggers an immediate investigation. No one can disable an alarm without medical staff being notified instantly. Sarah told me they're using Ethan's case in training for all new nurses, how to recognize concerning behavior from visitors, how to trust their instincts when something feels off. Your son's story is going to protect other children. She said, that's got to count for something. It does. It doesn't erase what happened, doesn't take away the nightmares or the trauma, but knowing that Ethan's near-death experience might prevent another child from going through the same thing helps. Brooke writes letters from prison that we don't open. Her parole hearing is in 5 years. Marcus has already written a statement opposing her early release. So have I. So has Dr. Mitchell, the hospital, and the prosecutor. Ethan knows a simplified version of what happened, that Aunt Brooke made a very bad choice that hurt him, that she's in prison because she did something dangerous, that it's not his fault, and he's safe now. As he gets older, we'll tell him more. But for now, we are focused on helping him feel secure and loved. People ask me if I've forgiven Brooke. The answer is no. Maybe that makes me a bad person, but I can't forgive someone who deliberately endangered my child's life to settle a personal grudge. She didn't just disconnect an alarm. She gambled with my son's life, and almost lost. If someone endangered your child's life on purpose just to prove a point about your parenting, would you ever be able to forgive them, or would you make sure they paid the full price for what they did?